Welcome back to Jess Checks Out. I am Jess, and we are checking out a book today. We are checking out Patience and Not Forsaken by Alex E. Harrow. So, I was not going to have this one come out. I actually hadn't planned on even reading this one book. And then I found out, I keep on saying February, July, but never Friday the 13th. I don't know. Probably because I don't watch horror. But I found out there is a Friday the 13th this month, and I want to take advantage of that. In fact, today, Lessons in Chemistry was supposed to come out, but instead you get a horror type feel. Alright, so I'm going to have a lot of spoilers in this. It's a very short, I think the story was like 2 hours or less, an audiobook, and I think it's an Audible Plus only. Anyway, so I'm going to have spoilers. Be aware. Be all the aware. Alright, so I loved this book. 5 stars. Easy 5 stars for me. And that is because the way Harrow can intrinsically interweave different elements, different sides, different feelings, everything together is amazing. I've noticed there is a theme in her books of mirrors and lesbians. So by that I mean, in A Spindle Splintered, you have discussions about it. And then it's especially prominent in A Mirror Mended, which are part of her, I think it's a Fractured Fairy Tales section or whatever, that's coming out by Tor. And so you have all of that going on. But then you have this one, which was actually written before the other two. And it's about this girl, Patience, who basically, it reminds me a little bit of the movie Casper. When Kat moves and her dad move into the mansion. And so they move into this old, dusty, dirty, like, I kept thinking it was somewhere around like the Addams Family meets, I don't know, 1700 Salem's feel to it. And so they move into this house and she sees that there's this girl in the mirror and it's not her. And she's very confused because, hello. So she's already kind of like set up in an interesting way because I wasn't sure, but I think I got the feeling this was set probably in like the 50s or 60s. I might have missed that when I was listening to it, but because she keeps talking about Wonder Woman and the early Wonder Woman's like in the 50s and the 60s, and so I got the feeling there was more there, and the way that like later on, the way another character speaks to her, it makes it seem like, you know, women are hidden in the closet, and there are still closets and stuff like that, but this was more, if you say something, you're going to end up in an institution type stuff. So her mom was in an institution. Like I said, this is spoiler. I'm going to have like the thing out there. So, but you know, all this stuff was going on. And so she had all these issues and she was emotionally, they would say like she was emotionally fragile and stuff like that. And so she meets this lady in the mirror, this girl in the mirror, and they have conversations, they start talking. And like the setting was how different Not Forsaken was from Patience. I felt like I kept seeing it's very gothic-y, and you know, I could see like the large like Hollywood gothic. Like I could see, you know, the things from like the 40s and the 30s and 40s and the black and white films. You can see those scenes, or like an Alfred Hitchcock type vibe to it. And she has these conversations and she's building up this relationship and so forth. And of course, nothing good ever comes from a mirror that talks back. Have we learned nothing from Snow White? So it's got this really nice, evened out discussion and idea. I really liked how the mirror acts as both reflection of her and society, and there's this very interesting balance. I definitely appreciated and approved of how the situation was handled, like how the resolution came about. You know, I felt so bad for Patience because she was trying to fit in, trying to do things, not like actively trying to fit in, but like between certain social groups and stuff like that. And she thought things were going to go some places and they didn't, and she was heartbroken, and then she was like heartbroken, not like literal, but also like heartbroken because she thought something was going to happen that never was going to, and I think that's something that we as a society kind of set ourselves up for a lot. So there is that going on. I really found the book, or I guess short story, very intriguing, and the way it communicated things was very interesting and smartly developed. Like I said, to go a little bit more into the mirror thing. So, in Spindle Splintered and a Mirror Mended, the mirror is key. It's like it's a magical portal, right? And for someone that grew up in the 80s, this makes so much sense to me because, like, I don't know if anybody is old enough to remember them, but the Huggables existed. And the Huggables were these, like, weird little Muppety characters, little baby characters, and they would go in and out of the mirror. And you could go to their world or whatever. It was very odd. Anyway, so that freaked me out as like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever. But then you also had things like, Alice in Wonderland, you have Alice in Wonderland, obviously Lewis Carroll thing, but you also had like the show on Disney in like the early 90s. There are a lot of elements that kind of like mirrors freak me out anyway, to be honest. I lived in a haunted house in Myrtle Beach. I called it the Hell House, and that is because we lived with pirates, really nasty pirates who were not so happy we were there. The house had been built, so where we lived, the house was built on marsh that was created to build the houses, and they were built over where the pirates dumped their dead on their way to Charleston. So where we were, it was like the whole area was pretty much haunted. The Grand Strand, between like where we were in Horry County to Charleston in the Low Country, there's a lot of dead people in the ocean, put it that way. And so sometimes people don't move on, you get stuck with them. So to me, this freaked me out from that element because I was always afraid as a child to look in the mirror because I was afraid I was going to actually find that. Some of that is Hollywood's doing, but some of it is my own imagination because if you think someone's in the house with you and you look up, do you see a shadow or do you see a person, right? And that's the interesting thing about this story. It's very similar to that. And I appreciated how, Alex put together this strong narrative of watching Patience as she finds herself, finds her way, what she determines, what she doesn't determine, how she can figure out how to get away from something, and what is and what isn't and what will be. And so I'm going to let me know what Gothic book you really enjoyed. If you want a really like creepy Gothic, I can recommend Erica Ridley's. She's got a series of Gothic Regencies as a romance reader that is set in that. It's kind of got that same eerie feeling. It's different, but it's got the same eerie feeling. I can always recommend, Shirley Jackson. Lisa Unger has a series that I only read one of, and that's just because I don't read horror. I didn't realize it was horror when I was reading it. But she has a series, and it's on Amazon and maybe on Kindle Unlimited. And it's this really creepy setting of a house because, you can't have a Gothic without a creepy house with a lot of, like, stories attached. And they're really good. The first one I read was, I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it up here and I look it up. But I can recommend any of those. I don't read a lot of horror and I don't read a lot of like Gothic horror, so I don't have a ton, but these are my recommendations. Let me know what yours is below. Subscribe, like, thumbs up, whatever. Okay. Bye, guys. I'm trying to go quickly because I don't want to lose the sunlight. And it's Germany at like 3 o'clock, so the sun will be going down in a few moments. Winter.